Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Know Before You Go, India Tiger Safari Photo Pro Expedition, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Aditya Panda. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Take it away, Aditya.
Thank you, Rob. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Um, Today's topic is on a trip that I can still afford to call brand new um, by the fact that it only started last season, last year. And it is a trip that everybody is very excited about and a trip that I'm going to be leading this season. So I'm quite looking forward to it. But before I start talking about the trip, let me talk a little about myself for those of you who are attending one of my webinars for the first time, and for those of you who haven't had a chance to travel with me on a NatHab expedition. My name is Aditya Panda, and I have been leading NatHab expeditions in India since 2016. The trips that I lead are the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, India Tiger Quest, and of course now India Tiger Safari, which is a photo pro expedition. Um, I'm based in Eastern India in a state called Odisha, and when I'm not leading NatHab expeditions, which is about 2/3 of the year, I am I'm somebody who works keenly in conservation, particularly of tiger and elephant landscapes in this part of India. So let's get started. Now, this expedition is called a Photo Pro expedition. And before getting into the trip and the itinerary and all the details about this trip, I wanted to quickly just mention what a Photo Pro expedition is. Now, a lot of you might have heard of our extremely popular India Tiger Quest expedition, one which I have spoken about multiple times and one which has been running, really well for several years now. And that expedition focuses on high quality tiger sightings, on maximizing the chances of seeing tigers and chances of having relatively high quality sightings in a single trip. And it, of course, takes us to a very well known national park and tiger reserve in India called Ranthambore, where we spend a week looking for tigers. Now, what a Photo Pro expedition is that it takes a regular expedition and usually lengthens it a little and sort of tailors the itinerary to maximize opportunities for photographers who take their art seriously. So Photo Pro expeditions are aimed at serious photographers, and they are always guided by expedition leaders who themselves are highly experienced wildlife photographers. Um, Photo Pro expeditions are also always small groups, and the itinerary factors in more time, allowing us to spend more time, get more opportunities at each destination and in each activity in order to maximize our chances of exploring our photographic, um, uh, you know, creativity. And of course, on Photo Pro expeditions, we take every opportunity. Whenever we find time, we have little photographic workshops. There's a lot of education that happens both, formally through presentations and workshops, as well as a lot of it informally out in the field when your expedition leader is accompanying you in search of tigers or on the streets of Delhi or Jaipur, or trying out night sky photography, for example. So there are plenty of wildlife photography opportunities, but there are also a lot of cultural photography and street photography and every other possible genre of photography that can be factored in to the itinerary and to whatever is going on around us wherever we are on the trip. And of course, we also have daily reviews of the pictures that we take every day, and look for chances of learning how to improve our art as photographers, how to understand our cameras better, how to get the best out of our cameras. So that in a jiffy is what a Photo Pro expedition is. Now, let's go through the itinerary of the India Tiger Safari Photo Pro expedition day by day. On day one, which should actually be called night one, because you arrive usually at a rather ungodly hour in the middle of the night from your long flight across the world, halfway across the world, and you land at Delhi Terminal 3. At Delhi Terminal 3, you will have somebody from our office receiving you and helping you through customs and getting you to the beautiful Taj Mahal Hotel, which is located in one of the poshest neighborhoods of Delhi, in what is known as the Diplomatic Enclave area. It is a very comfortable hotel. It's an iconic landmark of the city, and it's an excellent place to rest and recuperate from your long flight, to get used to the new time zone, and to get over your fatigue and jet lag. So that's what you do on day one. On day two, your expedition leader shall meet you after breakfast in the hotel lobby, and then take you on a half-day tour of Delhi, so that you've just arrived from America or whichever part of the world you're flying in from, and you arrive at night. You come straight to the hotel room, and you haven't had a chance to really see India so far. So we go on a half-day tour of Delhi. Delhi is divided into two distinct parts, which are called New Delhi and Old Delhi. New Delhi is the planned modern city where the national government of India is based. All the government infrastructure is based there. The embassies and diplomats are all based there, and politicians, bureaucrats, all of Delhi's who's who are based there. And just a short drive away from the modern city of New Delhi, you have, you are transformed immediately into the 18th century, and that is when you enter Old Delhi, which was built in the medieval time and consists of bazaars and narrow alleys and beautiful old monuments, and a very timeless old way of life. So you have spice markets and flower markets, and it's you explore the alleys on bicycle rickshaws, the three-wheeled rickshaws, and we also do a bit of guided walking around the alleys. And again, we come back to New Delhi. We see all the important monuments, the India Gate, the President's residence, the Parliament of India, all the other modern landmarks of New Delhi. And we also visit a Sikh temple where volunteers cook meals for over 10,000 people every single day. It's a very interesting temple, and all of these places, Old Delhi, the Sikh temple, the beautiful architecture of New Delhi, all of this provides fantastic photographic opportunities. So that's what we do through the day on day two. And our our itinerary is designed in such a way that, when the day starts really heating up, because this is all in the middle of summer, and Indian summers are quite extreme. So as the day starts heating up, we finish our day tour and go have lunch at a really nice restaurant. And then we go back to our hotel room, get some rest, and we all meet again over drinks and dinner, where your expedition leader is going to brief you on what to expect on your safari expedition ahead. On day three, we have a nice breakfast around 7 o'clock or so in the morning at the Taj Mahal Hotel where we are staying. And by around 8 o'clock, we shall leave by road to the UNESCO World Heritage Site city of Jaipur. Jaipur is a 5-hour drive from Delhi. Later, through the course of the webinar, I'll show you where it is on a map relative to Delhi. Jaipur is a 5-hour drive from Delhi on very comfortable roads. We shall have at least two restroom breaks on the way to make the drive comfortable for everybody. Although, if one needs to go more frequently than that, there are highway stops, fairly decent highway stops, about every 30 minutes or so. Jaipur is the capital of a state called Rajasthan, where the tiger reserve that we shall be visiting, Ranthambore, is located. Rajasthan is a very interesting state. It's, before the Union of India, the modern Union of India, the Democratic Republic Union of India was put together. We had the British Indian Empire, and before that, several Indian empires. And these Indian empires actually consisted, they were not one country or one nation as such. It was, over 550 small feudal states that were being ruled together by an emperor, and different emperors over the course of time, different dynasties, different rulers, different powers were in control of the Indian Empire in various periods of history. But India basically was, 550 or more princely states or feudatory states, the present geographical area of India, that is. Now, of course, with the arrival of democracy and the formation of the Indian Republic, all of these feudatory states and their princely families lost every administrative power that they had. But a lot of them continue their old way of life. They continue their family traditions and sort of conserve a way of life that used to exist. Of course, it is not as opulent as it used to be, but in various parts of India, the royal families have managed to maintain their distinct identity, and they are more often than not also liked by the local public, the citizens of their respective areas, who still have regard for those families because historically they had been their rulers. Now, the state of Rajasthan is one of the states that has really managed to preserve this old way of life really well. In fact, the name of the state itself translates into the land of royalty. And we shall be going to the capital of that state called Jaipur. And as I mentioned earlier, Jaipur is it's been designated UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2020, and that's because of the number of monuments and palaces and beautiful architecture that the city has, and the beautiful culture that the city has managed to preserve. So because of all of that, it's now a World Heritage Site. And at Jaipur, our address shall be the Jai Mahal Palace Hotel. Now, when I say Palace Hotel, it's not a hotel that mimics a palace. The Jai Mahal Palace is a real palace that was built in the mid 1700s and has housed, it's been the residence of at least three different prime ministers of the erstwhile state of Jaipur, the erstwhile princely state of Jaipur. So that palace was bought over by a very well-known chain of hotels in India called the Taj Hotels, where we shall be staying at Delhi and later in Agra also. And that hotel has, that hotel chain has preserved the palace in its original splendor and operates it as a five-star hotel. And that shall be our address in Jaipur. And we arrived there just before lunchtime on day 3. And we shall, of course, be spending the night there. And our stay there is going to give us the opportunity to do some excellent architectural photography and to be able to photograph what life in an actual Indian palace used to be like. So yeah, while we are being treated as royalty in residence in the palace, and while we are using our photographic opportunities there, we shall have lunch and a little bit of a rest, and then in the afternoon go to a very unique wildlife habitat called the Jhalana Leopard Reserve. And why it is unique is because Jhalana is a large carnivore habitat, very similar to Ranthambore in terms of terrain and flora and even fauna. But it is a wildlife reserve practically in the middle of Jaipur city. Jaipur is a city of probably, I don't know, 3 million people or so. And right in the middle of that city, you have this piece of wilderness that is connected through corridors to Ranthambore. You have this piece of wilderness where you have a thriving population of over 30 leopards, striped hyenas, desert foxes, and of course the more common animals like spotted deer and sambar deer. And because the leopard is top cat in Jhalana, it does away with its usual shy behavior in this park and acts more like a tiger or a lion because it is sitting right at the top of the food chain. And that gives us plenty of opportunities, even if we just have one game drive there. It gives us plenty of opportunity to have at least, one good leopard sighting. And if we are lucky, maybe some good hyena sightings and desert fox sightings. So the reserve is just a 20-minute drive away from our hotel, and depending on traffic, it could become 30 minutes, but that's usually how long it takes to get there. So it's quite amazing to reach the reserve, and you reach the parking area at the gate of the reserve, and on one side you see forest, and on the other side you see houses and apartments and a thriving city. And you might think you have just parked outside the city park, but the moment you get off your vehicle and get in the safari jeep and enter the park, you realize that it's no city park. This is real wilderness. It's large mammal, large carnivore habitat. So that's what we'll be doing at Jhalana that afternoon, and hopefully we'll get some good leopard sightings and maybe photographs. And then we drive back. The game drive will be about 3 hours or so. It's usually from about 3 in the afternoon till about 6:30, so till about sunset. So after the game drive, we drive back to our Palace Hotel and have a beautiful dinner um, and then get some rest till the next morning when we have early start to the day. We rise before the sun does and go out to explore the city of Jaipur with its beautiful palaces and forts and bazaars and fabulous pieces of architecture like this building in your screen, which is called Hawa Mahal. Um, and we do this early in the morning so that we can wander about the city before the streets get crowded, and so that we can have the benefit of beautiful light, because in the summer, remember, the sun doesn't take very long to get high, and as soon as it gets high, say after around 7:30 or 8 o'clock, the light gets harsh. So we try and take as much advantage as we can of the early morning light and explore Jaipur city and its architectural wonders, its beautiful bazaars and flower markets with their turban vendors. And we have tea at a very famous tea shop, and then come back to our hotel for breakfast. After breakfast, we pack our bags and head on a 3 hour drive to our real destination, the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. We arrive at Ranthambore at our fantastic camp, the Oberoi Vanya Vilas, which I will talk about later. And we arrive there again just before lunchtime. And after we check in and have lunch, and have a short window to go to our rooms, unpack our bags, get into our safari gear, and we go on our afternoon game drive to the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. Um, the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve has several different zones, about 11 zones, and we usually have our drives in zones 1 through 6, which work best for us and where chances of sighting tigers are the highest. So that's what we do on day 4 in the afternoon. We start our first game drive looking for tigers. And again, we come back to camp, uh, go through our photographs, see what we have shot, give each other tips and tricks and constructive criticism, if you will, for helping improve our photography. And we shall also be using that opportunity in the evenings to understand workflow and post-processing techniques and so on. Days 5 through 9 are spent going on game drives morning and afternoon, and in total we do a dozen game drives on this trip, one in Jhalana Leopard Reserve and the remaining 11 in the Ranthambore National Park and Tiger Reserve. So I've been talking about Ranthambore for a while without actually explaining what the national park is like. Now, Ranthambore is one of our first 9 tiger reserves that were protected, the areas of natural habitat, areas of wild tiger habitat, which were identified and chosen as being crucial to the conservation of tigers in 1973, when India started earnest efforts to protect tigers. And, you know, in 1973, Ranthambore became what we call a tiger reserve. It was protected specifically for the purpose of allowing tiger populations to recover, for the park to serve as what we call a source site for tigers, a site where tigers breed and proliferate and then spill out into the adjoining landscapes and gradually sort of repopulate former tiger habitat. That is the agenda with which the tiger reserves were notified in 1973. In 1973, we started with 9 tiger reserves, of which Ranthambore was one. But today we have about 54, so 9 square. um, so Ranthambore is um, primarily what we call dry deciduous forest, but it is also, as I'll explain later on a map, located on the edge of the Great Indian Desert. Um, in summer, it's very, very dry, semi-arid, as we would call it, which is, almost desert, but not quite there yet. And the habitat, as I was mentioning, is dry deciduous forest with a lot of thorn and scrub forest as well, and some areas of open savanna. And, it is located in a mountain range called the Aravalli. The Aravalli are actually the world's oldest mountain range. And although right now they're not all that tall, at one point of time, way back in their geological history, they are believed to have been taller than the Himalaya. So the Aravalli are gauged to be anywhere between 1 to 3 billion years old. But over time, erosion has reduced the height of these mountains, and you don't go much over, say, 800 or 900 meters at any section of the Aravalli. The Aravalli mountain range begins right at Delhi, and where the city of Delhi is. That's considered the northern tip of the Aravalli mountain range, and it sort of goes from northeast to southwest along the northwestern part of India, as you can see on the map here in the circle. Um, to the west of the Aravalli is the Great Indian Desert. And to the east of the Aravalli, you get plenty of monsoon rainfall, and the land is mostly green. Um, we go to this dry part of Tigerland, in fact, the driest tiger habitat at present, at the driest time of the year. And there is a reason why we do that, because if you go there if you go to the hottest and driest tiger habitat at the hottest and driest time of the year, then your chances of seeing the cats increase manyfold. Not only is vegetation sparse, but uh, you know water is also limited. And wherever there is water in the park, in the few areas where there is water left, like in this lake in the center of the park, that area becomes like an oasis which works as a magnet for all kinds of wildlife. You might have noticed a lot of old monuments in the pictures of Ranthambore that I've been showing you, starting from the picture of that tiger standing actually in this particular building that you see on your screen here, which was an old and now abandoned hunting lodge of the erstwhile ruler of Jaipur. And the buildings that you see here are parts of the Ranthambore Fort, which is also in the reserve. It's a fort that's probably 1,000 years old. So that gives you even more opportunity to photograph monuments and architecture in a wild setting. Here, the jungle, the wildlife has taken over what humans once created. And in the hunting lodge of the Maharaja, or the princely ruler of the erstwhile Jaipur state, today we frequently see tigers. And in fact, last season we had been regularly sighting a leopardess with her cubs who had taken up residence in the building, in the very building that had been used for their ancestors, for the ancestors of these tigers and leopards to be killed. So, as I was mentioning, wherever there is water, wildlife congregates, and that makes it possible for us to have excellent sightings and excellent photographic opportunities in the summer months in Ranthambore. And some of the key species that we shall be seeing on this trip are the sambar deer, which is the largest deer in Asia and one of the most preferred prey animals of tigers. We shall also be seeing a lot of spotted deer, which are much smaller, less than half the size of a sambar deer, but far more prolific. You see large herds of spotted deer everywhere, and these are the most common ungulate species that you will see in the park. Besides, that part of India also has a high diversity of antelope. And this here is the Indian gazelle or the chinkara, which is one of our smaller antelopes. And this here is the largest antelope in Asia, called the nilgai or blue bull. That's how the rest of him looks. The blue bull, this is of course a male, a bull, and the male has this slaty gray blue color. The female doesn't have horns, and she's fawn colored. We shall also frequently sight these northern plains gray langur monkeys. They are friends in the forest, as are the spotted deer and sambar deer, and they keep a sharp lookout for predators from vantage points all the time. And at the slightest hint of the presence of a tiger or a leopard, they give out alarm calls, which help us track these big cats. We shall also be seeing rhesus macaques, but not as frequently as the langur monkeys in the park. We shall definitely see a lot of rhesus macaque as we tour through Old Delhi. And of course, the langur monkey's greatest fear and greatest enemy, the leopard. Leopards frequently hunt langur monkeys because they can reach up to the high branches where the monkeys seek refuge. And if we are lucky, we might have good sightings of leopard as well in Ranthambore. Although I must say that chances of seeing leopard are far lesser than the chances of seeing tiger. So let's really hope that we see a good leopard in Jhalana and not have to be disappointed in Ranthambore. We also have excellent sightings of sloth bear in the summer months in Ranthambore. A lot of the fruit trees are, in fruit at that time of the year, and sloth bears are omnivores like most bears, although they are counted as large carnivores. They're called sloth bears because it's got nothing to do with their energy levels or temperament. It's just that old British taxonomists saw the claws of the sloth bear, and the claws are so long and curved that they reminded them of the sloth in South America, and they thought that they might be related, and that's why the common name of the sloth of this bear became sloth bear. Also, if we are lucky, we might see the striped hyena. That's a very rarely seen carnivore. Unlike in Africa, our hyenas, our striped hyenas, don't move around in packs, scaring off leopards and tigers off their kills. They are seen usually by themselves, so they're usually alone and very shy, highly nocturnal, and very rarely seen. I know that's a pretty lousy picture to put in a Photo Pro Expedition slideshow, but that's because that's the only daytime picture of a hyena that I have. So that tells you how rare it is to see the striped hyena. Although again, if we are lucky, we might see a good one in Jhalana. We also see smaller carnivores like the ruddy mongoose here, and other smaller mammals like the Indian hare, which is surprisingly easy to photograph in Ranthambore, while being extremely difficult to photograph anywhere else. Also, sometimes we have visitors like this at camp, the Indian hedgehog, again highly nocturnal and rarely seen. Um, Ranthambore also offers excellent birding. We have up to 350 species of birds there, and the dry and sparse vegetation and the lack of water make them all very easily visible during the time in which we visit the park. I'll let you guess what bird this is. I'm not going to tell you. I'll let you figure out which bird this is. Uh, this here is a rose-ringed parakeet. Parakeets, again, very colorful, very photogenic birds. We see them frequently. We see the rose-ringed parakeet, Alexandrine parakeet, and plum-headed parakeet in Ranthambore. And usually it's not that difficult to get photographs of them. Speaking of being easy to photograph, this is a rufous tree pie, and these birds frequently come and perch on vehicles and sometimes even on people's heads, uh, expecting a biscuit or a cookie or something, but it's not good to get wild animals and birds used to being hand-fed. So we don't do that, but they still give us great photographic opportunities. Besides these forest birds, we also have a lot of waterfowl that are easily seen, some good raptors. Overall, excellent birding and great bird photography opportunities. Um, so that on day 9 ends our stay at Ranthambore, and early on the morning of day 10, we have a quick breakfast and head to the railway station uh, to experience a sample of Indian railways. Um, we have a we get on a train in an air-conditioned carriage, and we have porters, of course, to help us with our bags, so do not worry about that. The railway station is about a 20-minute drive from our camp, and then we go on a short train ride, about 2.5 to 3 hours, to a station called Bharatpur, from where we shall drive for about an hour to the beautiful city of Agra, which under the Mughal Empire in India in the medieval period was actually the capital of India for a short while. At Agra, we arrive again just before lunch. Then we go and we check into our hotel, have a nice lunch, go to our rooms, unpack, get some rest, and then after the afternoon sun cools down a bit, we go to Fort Agra, which is here in your, on your screen right in front of you. But this picture doesn't really do justice to the Fort of Agra. The Fort of Agra is massive. This is just one of the many gateways into the fort. Um, but Agra, of course, is known for the Taj Mahal. So after we do some photography in the Fort of Agra from some great spots, and after we have learned the history of the fort and of the Mughal Empire that built the fort, we head to the Taj Mahal to get a panoramic view of it at sunset, and then we go back to our hotels, and early the next morning, while it is still dark, we go to the Taj Mahal and go in there and try and get some fantastic photographs in the first light of morning. It's magical. I've been to the Taj Mahal so many times now, almost every trip that every expedition that I lead, I end up going to the Taj Mahal in the end. But you never get bored of it, especially when you go there early in the morning, and the white marble reflects the varying light of the rising sun, from pink to orange to yellow to white. It's beautiful, and it provides so many photographic opportunities for this iconic monument that we take full advantage of it at sunrise, and then we head back to our hotel for breakfast, well in time before the crowds arrive at the Taj Mahal. We head back there for breakfast, and then we drive back to Delhi, where you go to the Trident Hotel by the, very close to the airport, to your day rooms. And there you shower and freshen up and rest and wait to be picked up and driven back to the airport for your flights home. And this map here is going to show you the four areas where we're going to travel, the four cities. You see there Delhi, just south of it, Jaipur and Agra, and just south of Jaipur is Ranthambore. So our entire trip is going to be in the northwestern part of India. The big blue dot that you see is where I am located right now, which is my hometown. Um, Given that we're going there in the peak of summer, a lot of you must be wondering what clothes to carry and what temperatures to expect. Well, the mornings, especially when we are on game drive or when we are walking around Jaipur city, say from sunrise until about 8 a.m., the mornings are quite pleasant. But after 8 o'clock, the day begins to rapidly heat up. Our game drives usually end by about 9 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, we try and come back to camp, uh, 9 or 9:30. Because after that, it really begins to heat up. Temperatures easily go up to 110, 115 Fahrenheit. And that remains the case until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, after which it begins to cool down. So wear light, breathable clothes. If you're worried about sun exposure, you can wear full shirts. Otherwise, half shirts are more comfortable. Uh, Definitely wear a hat to protect yourselves from the sun, and definitely wear the buff that NatHab will send you, because there is going to be a lot of dust. As the jeeps drive around on game drive, there will be a lot of dust. So you need to protect yourself from that. Dark glasses and sunscreen are, of course, crucial, as is a bottle of water with you. There will, of course, be water in the jeeps as well, in coolers, but do carry your own as well. And remember to keep hydrating. It's very, very important to remain hydrated while on game drives or while out in the field at any time of the day in that weather. Because if you do not hydrate in that dry heat, you dehydrate really quickly. You'll be sweating, but you won't feel it because the sweat dries off so quickly, and you will never realize when you become dehydrated, and then of course that's not very pleasant. So keep drinking water, especially if you have water with electrolytes added to it. Having said that, one can never write off rain. We can have sudden bursts of thunder showers um, at any given point of time. So always carry a rain jacket. Remember to pack a rain jacket in your bag. The jeeps will have ponchos in them, but rain jackets work better than ponchos in keeping you dry. And we shall also be giving you neck coolers, which are little straps of cloth with a gel kind of material inside them, which you can put in a refrigerator like the ones in your minibar in the room, in cold water, and let it soak up. And then if you tie that around your neck like a bow tie, that really helps in keeping you cool and in heat exposure. Um, A lot of you must be wondering what gear to pack, what photographic gear to pack. Well, the number one gear in my camera bag is always a pair of binoculars. A good pair of binoculars will not only help you watch and observe wildlife, but will also help you find animals to shoot. A lot of photographers get into the bad habit of using telephoto lenses as their binoculars, and that has so many limitations and disadvantages. Always carry a real pair of binoculars with you, along with your long lenses. 8 by 42 or 10 by 42 work great for me. 10 by 42 is better for birds and also better for more seasoned binocular users who do not take very long to find their subject through the binoculars. 8 by 42 works better for people who might have difficulty locating their subject in the narrow field of view of binoculars. 8 by 42 gives you a wider field of view than 10 by 42. As far as camera bodies are concerned, I would ideally carry two bodies, regardless of whether you shoot DSLR or mirrorless. But I would choose camera bodies that have a good high ISO performance and a high frame rate, so that one can capture action really well. Um, as far as lenses are concerned, I would suggest getting at least one long telephoto, uh, which can be anything in the range of a 300 to 600 millimeter lens. One medium telephoto lens, like a 70 to 200 lens. Um, Wide angle zoom lens, a standard lens, or a standard wide to standard zoom lens for landscapes and architecture, and also teleconverters if you use them. Also, to carry a bean bag, you can uh, carry an empty bean bag and we'll fill it up at the camp for you, or a monopod, whatever it is that you frequently use for support for your lenses. I would not recommend a tripod in the safari vehicles because it's very cumbersome to use a tripod in a safari vehicle. So bean bags and monopods work best, I'd say. But if you like to do a lot of time lapse and night sky photography and so on, you might want a tripod along and all the accessories that come along with it for your particular camera setup. Flashes are not permitted inside the parks. Um, you can get them for architecture and things like that, but monuments, but not for wildlife. They do not allow you to use flash around wild animals. Do remember to carry extra batteries, extra memory cards, a good traveling external hard drive, a solid state drive that's good for travel, and ideally a laptop so that you can download your pictures every night and also you can post process them and we can all learn from each other about post processing and other workflows. Um, the type of vehicle that we shall be driving from Delhi to Jaipur in and from Jaipur to Ranthambore in, and then again from Agra back to Delhi in is a van like this one that will seat our group very very comfortably. And this is the camp we are going to be staying at in Ranthambore, the Oberoi Banya Vilas, which is super luxurious and they have excellent staff, very very good service, amazing food, and it's just a very comfortable, nice place to base oneself from while on this amazing safari. There's also a lovely pool to dip yourselves into in the middle of the day between the game drives when it is really hot. And this is the type of vehicle that we shall be doing our game drives in. These vehicles will have a driver, a guide, a local park guide who will also act as a spotter, um, plus your expedition leader. Your expedition leader shall be rotating from jeep to jeep through the course of the trip. And in the jeep, you will never have more than two guests at any given point of time. So plenty of room for all your camera gear and move around and turn around and shoot in every direction. Um, this is a uh, typical tiger sighting. Well, they're not always cooperative and sleeping 30 feet from your jeep. Sometimes the distance can be more, but this is just to give you an example of how having two people, two guests on a jeep gives you all the room you need to move around and try different positions to put your camera in. You can go down low, when the situation permits, or you can use bean bags and monopods to support your camera. Um, Again, do not let this picture sort of fix your expectations on how tiger sightings usually are. Sometimes they can be fleeting. Sometimes the tigers are farther away. Sometimes there is a lot of vegetation in the way. But do be prepared to photograph wildlife and especially tigers, since this is a tiger photography trip, both when they are far away using a long telephoto lens, but also be prepared, ideally with a second body, with a short telephoto lens, to be able to photograph tigers when they are, say, no more than 10 or 15 feet from you. Having said that, I will again add that a lot of people go on safari in Africa, and it is really unfair to carry the same expectations when you come on safari to anywhere else in the world, including India, because every landscape, the wildlife in every landscape, the sighting opportunities, the terrain, everything varies from place to place. This might be the driest time of the year and the vegetation might be sparse, but it is still a jungle. And tigers are elusive big cats that like to remain private, except when they want to. And the tigers in Ranthambore are quite comfortable around jeeps, but still tigers like privacy. Tracking them is a challenging task, and that itself is part of the thrill. The thrill of the chase itself is part of the experience. So enjoy that, and do remember that sometimes they can be in thick vegetation, and it might be difficult to get a clear window to photograph them to. And of course, expecting to sight tigers on every game drive or even every day is just a recipe for disappointment. We need to be realistic about our sighting expectations. Um, we will not be seeing them on every single game drive or even every single day. On average, in my experience, at that time of the year in that part of the country, about one sighting in every three game drives is about average. So with that, I end today's webinar, and I would like Rob to um, ask what questions you have to me.
All right, thank you so much, Aditya. Now, before we start in with the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that you can submit your questions via the question field in your control panel. It's that little question mark box there at the top right-hand corner of your screen, at least as I'm seeing it. All right, so do you have any tips for getting around the carry-on luggage limits with your camera gear? Anything I should just leave out besides maybe an extra pair of underwear?
Well, you see, Rob, usually, unless your carry-on bag appears significantly large, usually they will not ask to measure the weight. So if you have a camera bag that fits into an airline bin, the overhead bin in the cabin, then they will usually not weigh it. I know my camera bag weighs about 30 pounds, and that is, more than twice what they permit. But I still manage to get away with it all the time because it fits in the bin. But if your camera bag appears visually pretty large and draws suspicion, then they might ask you to wait. One sort of cheat around that is that if you're wearing a photographer's vest and if you have your lenses put in the pockets, that technically is not your carry-on. You are wearing that, so they will have no choice but to let you through. So I would suggest, have a photographer's vest, like those large fishing vests and fishing jackets, and with the large pockets. And in case your camera bag is overweight, just put the lenses, or in case you suspect that your camera bag will be overweight, just put your lenses and flashes and things like that into your jacket pockets and cut weight. That's what I can suggest.
Great. Thank you for some great tips there. So I know dust can be a problem. Do you have any sort of tips for how to keep dust off of my equipment while I'm on safari?
Well, you can't do much other than covering it up with cloth, a cloth cover that we provide. But then you've got to use it. So, you will have to expose, there will be some exposure, you can't help it. But again, most modern cameras and lenses are sealed very well against the elements, and a little bit of dust will not be a problem. Every night when we come back to camp, we'll clean our equipment, and that's something you should not be overly worried about.
So one of the items listed in the magic formula was buff. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Buff is a sort of it's like a neck gaiter, and NatHab gives those around to all our guests. I think on every trip, certainly every India trip before they arrive, you wear it around your neck, and you can pull it up to cover your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your entire face and head. You can find many creative uses of the buff.
Great. Thank you for clarifying on that. Um, unless we have any more questions, I'm going to say that will be the last one that we do have. So I'm going to throw it back to you for some closing comments.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you to our wonderful audience. I hope you found today's webinar useful, and I look forward to having you all on safari with your cameras on a Photo Pro expedition. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya, so much for taking the time to present for us today. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. Now, if you're interested in information on how you can travel with NatHab, give us a call at the number on your screen, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us tomorrow for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.